The creation of the Hobo really goes back to Ryan Katz, who's now a producer with WWE. He was one of the very first guys who trained me, and he just threw it out there as an idea for a gimmick that, just a starting off gimmick. Everybody needs something to start that you can hide behind. So I just thought, well, what would a hobo sound like? What would a guy who's traveled the rails for a living, what would he sound like?
And this will be a fight, straight from the streets. It'll be dirty. It'll be gritty, and it'll be for the gold.
In high school, I had a chance to do some wrestling, but I've had asthma my entire life, so they were really interested in me just being a part of their wrestling program, but I couldn't keep up. I just physically couldn't keep up, and it was really hard for me. So I was offered the chance to go and act in our theater department, and I just took to that really fast. I just enjoy the idea of being somebody else. That's what I really enjoyed about wrestling, was not the athletics of it so much as the character of it. And that's what got me drawn in. Wrestling Willie Mack was probably the cusp of the entire idea of I am maybe not good enough for this. Willie Mack is single-handedly the greatest athletic talent I've ever seen in person. And he's the most genuine human being I've ever met in my life. I can't hold a candle to Willie Mack, so I don't know how I'm supposed to beat him. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do to beat Willie Mack on an emotional level, because I thought I shouldn't. I can't beat Willie Mack. I shouldn't beat Willie Mack. That's not right. It's not okay. But I beat him anyway, and I had to live with that, which was harder. Between the end of the Hobo and the beginning of Robert Baines was a very difficult period personally. I was the head trainer at the Hollywood Wrestle Center in Sherman Oaks. That went away. The last week we were there, I tore up my knee really badly. And then Jervis and I broke up. It was pretty much this big sweeping, just a massive downturn. And now I have to figure out what's next. So I don't know where I got the idea, but I suddenly became aware of survivalists, that a group of people were betting on the end of the world. And rather than changing the circumstances to make sure that everybody survived and nobody died, they were just going to save themselves and let everybody else die. That intrigued me because it bothered me immensely. Robert Baines is growing and adapting, and he's changing. He's getting more eyeballs on him than he ever has before. And I think the message that Robert Baines has been using is on par with the message of anywhere in the United States, which is frightening.
And I will completely dominate, because I am not just physically commanding. Mentally, I am 5 steps ahead.
Being able to be somebody else has freed me. I've been able to understand so much more about myself and to put myself in circumstances and situations that normally would scare me. All of a sudden, they don't anymore. When I first started acting, I had stage fright until I became somebody else. And then all of a sudden, it was the other guy's problem. All of the madness that the Hobo had to deal with, it wasn't my problem, it was his problem. So I sort of obfuscated a lot of responsibility onto somebody who didn't exist. And it was very freeing for me as a person, because as a performer, it was all this guy. So all you have to do is put stock into what he's doing and just let it go. Just let the tape run out and something will happen. It's putting faith in something that something good will happen if you only put the amount of effort into it that it desires, which is an infinite amount of effort.